We all know LeBron wants to contend for a championship. Will LeBron have a better chance of winning a championship with Luka or Steph, Joe? And his ability to pass the ball with Steph's ability to move without the ball?
He's cheating again.
They'll trade Jimmy, the butler, the maid, and a couple other people to get LeBron to put it with.
The NBA world could be on the verge of witnessing something that would completely reshape basketball history. What if two of the biggest icons of this generation, LeBron James and Steph Curry, actually ended up playing together on the same team? Picture the atmosphere inside the arena, the excitement from the fans, defenses scrambling, and opposing coaches trying to figure out how to stop a lineup that seems impossible to defend. This isn't simply another fun basketball hypothetical. It could become one of the most terrifying realities the NBA has ever seen. LeBron and Steph on the same roster wouldn't just be an exciting combination. It could create an unstoppable partnership capable of changing the way the game is played. Analysts, fans, and former players who have discussed this possibility all recognize one major point. This wouldn't simply create a great team. It could create a completely unfair one. And that's exactly what we're exploring today. We'll break down the opinions of analysts who understand basketball at the highest level and examine why LeBron and Steph together could be nearly impossible to stop. We'll look at how their combination could destroy defensive schemes, overwhelm opposing offenses, and potentially create something close to basketball perfection. But before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and hit that like button. If you love deep NBA breakdowns and fascinating basketball debates, you definitely don't want to miss this one. Stay with us until the end, because once you see how these two superstars could fit together, you'll understand just how dangerous this duo could be. When the question comes up about whether LeBron James would have a better chance of winning another championship alongside Luka Doncic or Steph Curry, the discussion becomes much bigger than simply choosing between two elite players. At its core, the debate is about which type of superstar would complement the most complete player in NBA history. On one side, you have Luka Doncic, a young superstar who has already established himself as one of the league's most dominant defensive forces and is still approaching his prime. On the other, you have Steph Curry, widely regarded as the greatest shooter basketball has ever produced. There's no denying how special Luka is. He's powerful, creative, highly skilled, and has developed an incredible ability to control the tempo of a game. He can manipulate defenses, create his own shots, and consistently put pressure on opponents. But adding Steph Curry next to LeBron would be something completely different. You wouldn't simply be adding another superstar. You would be creating a combination that would be extremely difficult for any defense in the league to solve. LeBron has always been at his best when surrounded by elite shooters, and there has never been a shooter quite like Steph Curry. Luka provides incredible control and playmaking, but Steph creates something even more dangerous: panic. Curry's shooting range forces defenders to operate far outside their comfort zone. That extra defensive pressure would create enormous opportunities for LeBron to attack the basket, operate in space, and make plays. Now look at it from the defensive side. If LeBron shared the floor with Luka, opposing teams would obviously have to respect Luka's step-back jumper, passing ability, size, and creativity with the ball. But there's a huge difference between respecting a player and being genuinely terrified of what he can do. Defenses have already developed strategies for slowing Luka down because they know he often controls the offense with the ball in his hands. But Steph presents a completely different problem. Even without touching the ball, Curry can completely change a defense. His movement, range, and ability to explode into a shot force defenders to constantly track him. And when that kind of gravity is combined with LeBron James attacking the same defense, the possibilities become almost impossible to contain.
Alongside Steph, we all know LeBron wants to contend for a championship. Will LeBron have a better chance of winning a championship with Luka or Steph?
He steps into the debate and makes his stance crystal clear. If given the choice, he would take Steph Curry over Luka Doncic because Steph has already proven what he can do at the highest level. And honestly, that argument hits the heart of the debate. In sports, especially in the NBA, proven results are incredibly valuable. Luka has the talent to become a generational superstar. He could exceed every expectation, break records, and eventually build one of the greatest careers the league has ever seen. But there's still one major question surrounding him. He hasn't yet proven that he can lead a team all the way to an NBA championship. Luka has delivered plenty of incredible playoff performances, but he hasn't consistently shown that he can take a team over the finish line when everything is on the line. He hasn't yet demonstrated that he can carry a roster to the top of the NBA and win it all. Steph Curry, on the other hand, has already done it multiple times, and he didn't do it against weak competition. He delivered championships while battling some of the best teams and greatest players of his generation. That's the fundamental difference between potential and proven greatness. When you place Stephen Curry next to LeBron James, you're not simply imagining what might happen. You're combining two superstars who have already defined entire eras of basketball, conquered the league, and demonstrated that they know how to perform when the pressure reaches its highest point. The argument about Steph being a proven player goes much deeper than simply pointing to his championships. It comes down to trust. Coaches trust Curry because they've seen him deliver in Game 7s, NBA Finals, and hostile environments where one mistake can end a season. His teammates trust him because Steph has never needed to dominate every possession to make an impact. He's comfortable sharing the spotlight, yet he can suddenly explode for 40 points when his team desperately needs it. Opposing teams respect him for the same reason. They know there is virtually no safe place on the court when Curry is involved. His shooting range changes defensive schemes before he even touches the basketball. That kind of proven track record changes the entire equation. LeBron is now entering the later stages of his legendary career, so surrounding him with another player who already understands what it takes to win makes perfect sense. He doesn't need a superstar who might eventually figure everything out. He needs someone who has already mastered the pressure, discipline, and execution required to win championships. Steph Curry has spent his career doing exactly that with the Golden State Warriors. He helped build one of the greatest dynasties of the modern NBA and became one of the defining players of this era. His impact goes far beyond shooting. He's a proven champion, a proven leader, and a player who has repeatedly delivered when the stakes were at their highest. And that's what separates him from Luka in this particular debate. The argument isn't that Luka lacks talent. Far from it. Luka is an extraordinary player with the potential to accomplish incredible things. But championships aren't won based on potential alone. They're won by players who know how to execute when everything is on the line. Steph Curry has already shown that he can do exactly that. Now imagine combining that proven championship mentality with LeBron James. Two legends, two championship-tested minds, two players who have already changed the game. That isn't just an exciting hypothetical. It could be one of the most frightening combinations the NBA has ever seen.
Hey, if I had to choose, I'm going Steph, bro.
For sure.
Hey, listen,
Proven commodity.
One of the most interesting points in Joe's analysis comes when he explains how Stephen Curry's presence could completely change LeBron James' role on the court. For years, LeBron has been expected to do almost everything. He's had to carry the scoring, create opportunities for his teammates, defend, control the offense, and provide leadership. Despite that enormous workload, he still managed to dominate the league. But imagine what happens when you put him alongside Steph Curry. Suddenly, defenses become so focused on Curry that LeBron gets the freedom to return to one of the things he does better than anyone, controlling the game as an elite facilitator. That's where LeBron has always been at his most dangerous. Of course, LeBron can score at an elite level, but when he's able to pick apart a defense with his passing, manipulate defenders, create space, and control the pace of the game, stopping him becomes almost impossible. And Steph is the perfect player to make that happen. Defenders simply can't afford to ignore Curry. They can't comfortably drop back against the pick and roll. They can't help off him from the perimeter. They can't give him even a small amount of space. The second they do, Steph makes them pay. His shooting creates a gravitational pull unlike anything most defenses have ever experienced. Defenders are forced to stretch themselves across the floor, creating gaps that LeBron can immediately attack. And when the defense begins to collapse, LeBron doesn't always have to finish the play himself. He can exploit those openings with perfectly timed passes to cutters, shooters, or players attacking the rim. Suddenly, the game becomes much easier for LeBron. And history has shown that when LeBron can play freely and make the game unfold on his terms, he becomes nearly impossible to stop. That's why Joe's argument about Steph allowing LeBron to play his natural game is so important. It's not simply about reducing LeBron's scoring responsibility. It's about unlocking the most dangerous version of LeBron at this stage of his career. Picture the scenario. LeBron has the ball near the top of the key, while Steph is constantly moving without the ball, racing around screens and forcing defenders to chase him. The defense instantly becomes confused. Should they trap LeBron? Should they stay attached to Curry? Should they protect the paint? For just a moment, the defense has to make a decision, and that's all LeBron needs. He reads the floor, identifies the weakness, and delivers the perfect pass. The result could be an uncontested three-pointer, a backdoor cut, or an easy finish at the rim. That's basketball at its highest level. And if LeBron and Steph were actually playing together, possessions like that could happen again and again. It wouldn't just be effective. It would be basketball artistry. Steph Curry isn't simply a player who scores a lot of points. He's a catalyst who changes the entire structure of a defense and gives LeBron the freedom to become the facilitator and floor general we've seen throughout the greatest moments of his career. That combination is exactly what makes the idea of these two legends sharing the same court so terrifying. One player creates chaos simply by moving. The other knows exactly how to exploit it.
Just a guy who's going to command, I'm talking about Steph, he's going to command so much attention that LeBron will really get to play a natural position, which is like more of a...
The idea of LeBron James still averaging around 22 to 25 points per game while putting most of his energy into facilitating isn't just realistic. It could be terrifying for the rest of the NBA. At this point in his career, LeBron doesn't need to chase 35 points every night. He is still capable of producing those numbers when the situation demands it. But alongside Stephen Curry, scoring wouldn't have to be his primary responsibility. LeBron could still give you 20-plus points almost effortlessly. But the real damage would come from his ability to control and create the offense. Imagine LeBron no longer having to force himself to score 30 points every night. Instead, he could focus his energy on reading defensive schemes, creating opportunities for teammates, manipulating matchups, and delivering pinpoint passes. That would be one of the most efficient versions of LeBron we've ever seen. This is where Joe's hypothetical starts to feel less like fantasy and more like a legitimate basketball nightmare. 25 points from LeBron alone would already put tremendous pressure on an opponent. Now add 10 or 12 assists created because defenders are so focused on Steph Curry, and LeBron could potentially be directly responsible for 40 or even 50 points in a single game. That's championship-level production. And the most frightening part is that it wouldn't necessarily look exhausting. It would look effortless. Instead of draining himself trying to score, create, defend, and carry the entire offense, LeBron could pick his moments as a scorer while constantly attacking defenses as a playmaker. Steph would give him that freedom. That balance could be incredibly unfair, and it's a major reason why this hypothetical pairing feels almost unreal. Anyone who has watched LeBron throughout his career knows that his passing has always been one of his greatest weapons. From the moment he entered the NBA, his court vision and ability to anticipate plays have separated him from almost every other forward in basketball history. Yet his scoring ability, physical dominance, and highlight reel plays have sometimes overshadowed just how elite he is as a passer. Playing alongside Steph would completely change that. With Curry stretching the defense to its limits, LeBron would have even more opportunities to showcase his vision and establish himself as the ultimate playmaking forward. That's why Joe's reaction about not even being able to imagine how crazy this combination would look makes perfect sense. There may not even be enough words to properly describe it. It would be basketball at its highest level, a combination of selfless playmaking, incredible intelligence, and ruthless efficiency. And when you add LeBron's passing and decision-making to Steph Curry's non-stop movement and historic shot-making, you're no longer talking about an offense that is simply difficult to stop. You're talking about an offense that could feel inevitable.
For about 22 to 25 points a night, but him facilitating, oh my God, I couldn't.
When someone describes a LeBron James and Stephen Curry partnership as something that would almost feel like cheating, they aren't exaggerating. This is the kind of superstar combination that could completely distort the normal rules of basketball. LeBron has never been simply a scorer. He's a complete floor general with the court vision, passing ability, and basketball IQ of an elite point guard. He can control an offense, manipulate defenders, and recognize plays developing before they even fully unfold. Now put that next to Stephen Curry, the greatest off-ball movement shooter the game has ever seen. Steph doesn't simply wait around on the perimeter for someone to pass him the ball. He's constantly moving. He races through screens, changes direction, curls around defenders, and forces entire defenses to react to his every movement. Combine that movement with LeBron's ability to anticipate what is happening on the floor, and Curry suddenly becomes an even more dangerous weapon. Imagine LeBron bringing the ball up the court. Defenders are already focused on his size, strength, and ability to attack the basket. Then, out of nowhere, Steph starts flying across the baseline. Suddenly, two defenders have to chase him, and that's when the defense faces an impossible decision. If they stay with Steph, LeBron has an opportunity to attack the opening. If they collapse on LeBron, Curry can get a clean look. And if both defenders commit, another teammate is probably standing completely open. That's exactly why the idea feels like cheating. It's not simply that LeBron and Steph are individually great. It's that their strengths would magnify each other in ways that could overwhelm even the best defensive schemes in the NBA. LeBron has always been at his best when surrounded by elite shooting, while Curry becomes even more dangerous when paired with a playmaker capable of delivering the ball exactly where and when he needs it. Their skills fit together almost perfectly. One creates pressure with his size, strength, passing, and ability to attack the rim. The other creates pressure through movement, shooting range, and constant off-ball chaos. Together, they would force defenses to solve a puzzle that may not have an answer. This wouldn't simply be a dangerous partnership. It could be a historic one. If LeBron James and Stephen Curry had ever shared the floor while both were at their absolute peaks, the result might have been more than domination. It could have changed the way basketball itself was played.
Ability to pass the ball with Steph's ability to move without the ball?
I have a
He's
question.
cheating again.
The idea of teams trading Jimmy Butler and other major pieces simply to find a way to compete with LeBron James and Stephen Curry says everything about how frightening this potential duo could be. When NBA front offices start considering breaking up their own core players or completely rebuilding their rosters just to have a chance against two superstars, that's when you know the situation has become serious. Jimmy Butler is hardly an ordinary player. He's one of the toughest and most competitive players in the league. He has carried Miami through brutal playoff battles and established himself as a relentless two-way leader who thrives when the pressure is at its highest. Yet even a player like Butler could potentially become expendable if a team believed sacrificing him was necessary to construct a roster capable of challenging LeBron and Steph. That tells you just how overwhelming this hypothetical matchup could be. At that point, teams wouldn't simply be trying to improve their rosters. They would be desperately searching for an answer to what could feel like an unsolvable problem. Franchises might have to sacrifice chemistry, trade valuable assets, and risk their long-term future just to create a team capable of competing with this combination. And that's what makes the hypothetical so powerful. It wouldn't just affect one team. LeBron and Steph joining forces could completely shift the balance of power throughout the NBA and force every contender to reconsider its strategy. Think about the potential ripple effects. Star players getting traded, rosters being completely reshaped, fan bases going into panic mode, franchises making aggressive moves overnight, all because two of the greatest players of their generation decided to play together. That's the bigger point behind the argument. LeBron and Steph wouldn't simply create another championship contender. Their partnership could create a league-wide problem that every other franchise would have to address. And ultimately, the argument comes down to something NBA fans already understand. The idea of LeBron James and Stephen Curry joining forces isn't just exciting. It's terrifying. On one side, you have LeBron, the ultimate physical force, elite playmaker, and basketball mind, who can control nearly every aspect of a game. On the other, there's Stephen Curry, the revolutionary shooter whose range, movement, and off-ball ability have completely changed modern basketball. Put those two players together, and you're not simply creating a great superstar duo. you're creating a nightmare for opposing defenses. Their abilities complement each other so perfectly that teams could struggle to find a defensive strategy capable of consistently slowing them down. As UNC's argument suggests, their chemistry could make the combination feel almost unfair, leaving the rest of the league scrambling for solutions, even considering drastic moves involving established stars like Jimmy Butler. And that's what makes this entire debate so fascinating. It's not just about individual talent. It's about the possibility that their combined strengths could make the outcome feel inevitable. If LeBron and Steph had ever truly joined forces, the NBA landscape could have been completely transformed. The league would never look the same. Because when two legends with completely different styles fit together this perfectly, you're not simply talking about a great team. You're talking about domination waiting to happen.